He was once just another sharply dressed teenager in the most famous band on Earth, moonwalking alongside his younger brother Michael, commanding the world stage with synchronized steps and soulful harmonies. But while the world became obsessed with the drama, controversy, and glittering downfall of the more flamboyant Jackson siblings, one brother quietly stepped away from the chaos. Marlon Jackson, the sixth child of the Jackson dynasty, vanished into the background, but not into obscurity. What if the most underrated Jackson wasn't the least successful, but simply the most intentional? While Michael courted fame and headlines, while Jermaine chased solo deals and Randy fumbled in the family's business affairs, Marlon turned his back on the camera flashes and chose peace, privacy, and purpose. For years, he disappeared from the tabloids, making only brief appearances beside his family, quietly building a life far removed from the spectacle of Neverland Ranch or the lawsuits that haunted the Jackson name. And yet, beneath this veil of silence, Marlon was crafting something powerful, a legacy rooted not in fame but in impact. He didn't need platinum albums or million-dollar scandals to leave a mark. His was a path built on real estate, long-standing love, community work, and a rare kind of loyalty that refused to shatter even as his family fractured. Marlon's story isn't about a star who burned out, it's about a man who deliberately dimmed the spotlight to save his soul. And now, decades after the Jackson 5 first set the world spinning, we're peeling back the curtain on the brother who never sought headlines, but whose journey might be the most surprising of them all. From multi-million-dollar homes to emotionally charged eulogies, from secret business ventures to heartfelt playgrounds in underserved cities, this is the story of the Jackson brother who never chased fame, but built a life worth more than the limelight. And what you'll discover next may change the way you see the Jackson legacy forever. Long before Marlon Jackson sought refuge in quiet corners of California, he resided in a home that whispered history from every polished surface. Tucked away in the upscale Enino neighborhood of Los Angeles, Marlon's former estate was more than just a place to sleep. It was a living monument to a musical dynasty. Dubbed the Jackson 5 compound by fans and realtors alike, the mansion stood as a physical timeline of the family's meteoric rise through the night. With over 49,000 square feet of gated land, shielded by thick, mature trees and access through double gates, the compound embodied privacy and prestige. The main house alone spanned 6,700 square feet, with 4 sprawling bedrooms and 4 luxurious bathrooms. But that was just the beginning. A 3-story guest house offered additional bedrooms, a dedicated office, and a private den, the perfect hideaway for a family that lived under the world's microscope. Outside, the estate transformed into an entertainer's paradise, boasting a resort-style swimming pool, a regulation tennis court, and patio spaces large enough to host family reunions that echoed the grandeur of Jackson family celebration. Inside, the home was the pinnacle of Hampton-style elegance, featuring a gourmet chef's kitchen, a cozy wet bar, and a master suite with a hot tub, sauna, and dual walk-in closets. Even the 300-foot driveway wasn't just for show. It could house up to 11 cars while preserving total discretion. Marlon sold this crown jewel in 1992 for $1.16 million, but when it resurfaced on the market in 2021, it fetched a jaw-dropping $3.45 million. That staggering increase wasn't just inflation. It was proof that the home had transcended bricks and mortar to become a part of American music history. And yet, Marlon walked away from it all, willingly. A man once surrounded by gold records and velvet ropes chose instead to live like a recluse, which begged the question, where did he go next? After parting ways with the estate that once echoed with rehearsals, laughter, and flashes of paparazzi cameras, Marlon Jackson took a turn that no one predicted. He vanished from Los Angeles and seemed to vanish from fame, but his disappearance wasn't fueled by scandal or burnout. It was intentional. Sources close to the Jackson family and his involvement in the San Diego Direct Community Assistance Program suggest he quietly relocated to or near San Diego, a place worlds apart from the media frenzy of Hollywood, yet close enough to stay in reach if needed. San Diego, with its coastal charm, calm energy, and lower public profile, was the perfect retreat for a man who had seen firsthand what stardom could do to a person. After all, he had witnessed his younger brother Michael's tragic spiral under relentless media pressure. Marlon didn't want to be idolized. He wanted to be free from flashing bulbs, legal battles, and internet speculation. In the digital age where celebrities document every meal and meltdown, Marlon's decision to remain low-key felt revolutionary. He kept his personal affairs out of headlines, declined reality TV offers, and avoided interviews unless the cause was greater than himself. His new home is unlisted, his daily life unphotographed, his routines unrecorded, and in that silence, he found something many of his siblings never could: peace. But stepping away from public view didn't mean stepping away from purpose. As the cameras faded, Marlon shifted his focus from public applause to private impact, and that's where his story starts getting even more interesting. While Marlon Jackson may not have pursued the glitz of solo stardom like his brothers Michael or Jermaine, the foundation of his financial portfolio remains rooted in the explosive success of the Jackson 5. As an original member, he reaps the royalties from hits like ABC, I'll Be There, and I Want You Back, timeless classics that continue to stream globally and appear in licensing deals and nostalgic media. However, Marlon's solo attempt, the 1987 album Baby Tonight, was met with only modest success. Its single Don't Go managed to chart on Billboard's R&B list, but didn't create the commercial splash he may have hoped for. Instead of chasing diminishing returns in music, Marlon pivoted toward media entrepreneurship. In 1999, he co-founded the major broadcasting cable network, alongside heavyweight names like Evander Holyfield and attorney Willie E. Gary, aiming to create faith-based and family-friendly programming. The network eventually rebranded into the Black Family Channel in 2004, a bold move to fill a cultural gap in American television. Although the venture was short-lived and sold off by 2007, it padded Marlon's income and added credibility to his business resume. Even if these ventures didn't result in enormous profits, they revealed a man trying to diversify beyond music, to craft an identity outside the shadow of Motown's legacy. Today, estimates of Marlon's net worth range between $500,000 and $1 million, a modest fortune compared to his siblings, but one earned without tabloid drama or legal chaos. And in an era where fame often bankrupts more than it builds, Marlon's financial restraint may be his quiet triumph. While the world debated Michael's legal cases and Jermaine's reality shows, Marlon Jackson was drafting plans for something entirely different, not another record or reunion tour, but a global development initiative in Africa. In 2008, he co-launched the Motherland Group LLC, a project aimed at revitalizing tourism and fostering economic investment in Badagry, Nigeria, a region steeped in African diaspora history. This wasn't a publicity stunt or vanity project. Marlon envisioned cultural centers, hotels, and museums that would honor heritage while providing opportunities for local communities. Though the initiative never fully materialized, it spoke volumes about where Marlon's mind had shifted, toward legacy, not limelight. He wanted to give back to a continent that bore the weight of his ancestors' struggles, and in doing so, reposition himself not as a pop icon, but as a cultural bridge. It was a daring move that separated him even further from the celebrity path his family had walked for decades. While his siblings juggled music, media spats, and memoirs, Marlon tried, however, quietly to build institutions. And even when the projects fell short of their goals, they revealed an ambition far removed from show business. Most fans never heard about these ventures, because they weren't promoted through flashy press releases or star-studded launches. But Marlon didn't need applause. He was building something deeper, or at least trying to, brick by brick, one silent investment at a time. In a family often torn apart by scandals, lawsuits, divorces, and public meltdowns, Marlon Jackson's love story stands as one of the few enduring bright spots. He met Carol Ann Parker during a Jackson 5 tour stop in New Orleans, and in August 1975, at just 18 years old, they married. While tabloids chased his brothers' love lives from page to page, Marlon's relationship stayed out of the spotlight and quietly thrived. The couple built a multi-generational household with 3 children, Valencia, Brittany, and Marlon Jr., and eventually welcomed 6 grandchildren. Unlike many Hollywood marriages, theirs didn't falter under fame. There were no ugly breakups, no messy headlines, no reality shows exploiting their bond. Just decades of quiet companionship that withstood the storm. Their love became the anchor that kept Marlon grounded while others in the family were pulled into chaos. Even now, in the age of oversharing, their romance remains largely undocumented. No viral moments, no scandalous DMs, no PR stunts, and maybe that's why it lasts. In the Jackson family saga filled with highs, heartbreaks, and headlines, Marlon and Carol Ann's story reads like a rare miracle. And for all the riches, royalties, and recognition, it's this lifelong partnership that may be his greatest success. While many of his siblings chased stage lights and media headlines, Marlon Jackson quietly redirected his spotlight toward the people who needed it most, not through concerts or record deals, but through community-driven change. In 2015, he launched the Study Peace Foundation, an initiative rooted in global unity, peace building, and generational healing. This wasn't a celebrity brand brand disguised as charity, it was a mission built on experience, heartbreak, and reflection. Marlon's efforts spanned across youth programs, elderly care, and community wellness, emphasizing emotional literacy and intergenerational communication in a fractured world. But the heart of his legacy beats strongest through his partnership with quietest, a non-profit organization focused on building safe play spaces for children. Together they constructed playgrounds in cities that shaped Marlon's life: Gary, Indiana, New Orleans, and Los Angeles, places scarred by poverty but rich in soul. These playgrounds weren't just for climbing or sliding, they were symbols that even someone born into a whirlwind of fame could return to the soil and leave something solid behind. While other Jacksons made headlines for controversies or new ventures, Marlon was wielding hammers and writing grants. No red carpets, no award shows, just real work, real change, and real children smiling in neighborhoods that often get left behind. It was philanthropy with purpose, not performance. And in a world where so many celebrities give for attention, Marlon gave and walked away, because for him, the applause wasn't the point. The playgrounds were. The cameras may have zoomed in on the casket, the crowds, and the dazzling tribute performances, but no moment from Michael Jackson's 2009 memorial service hit harder than when Marlon Jackson stood at the podium. Dressed in a gold tie, white gloves, and sunglasses like his brothers, Marlon didn't deliver a polished speech. He delivered raw truth. His voice trembled, cracking under the weight of decades of brotherhood, loss, and public scrutiny. "Maybe now, Michael. They'll leave you alone," he said, his words slicing through the auditorium like a blade. But it wasn't just Michael he addressed. In a moment that shattered the hearts of millions watching, Marlon invoked his twin brother Brandon, who had died at birth. "I want you to hug our brother, my twin brother, Brandon, for me," he whispered, collapsing the distance between grief and eternity. That eulogy wasn't about spectacle. It was a man laying his soul bare in front of the world, saying goodbye not just to the king of pop, but to a brother who had once been his mirror, his anchor, and his shadow. No rehearsed lines, no showbiz polish, just heartbreak in its purest form. That single moment revealed more about Marlon's depth than 1,000 interviews ever could. He wasn't just mourning Michael, he was mourning the innocence, the family unity, the childhood lost to fame. And though the world saw Jackson mourning a legend, what we really witnessed was a brother, broken but brave enough to say what millions felt, that behind the music, there was a man, and behind that man, there was Marlon. For all their smiles on stage, the Jackson family's behind-the-scenes dynamics have always been complicated, and in 2012, the cracks split wide open. The controversy erupted around the control of Michael Jackson's estate following his death, dragging Marlon and his siblings into a legal and emotional maelstrom. As some brothers, namely Jermaine and Randy, reportedly pushed for financial control and questioned the estate's handling, a heartbreaking twist emerged. Their elderly mother, Katherine Jackson, suddenly ceased contact with her children. Marlon, who had built his life on loyalty and peace, was devastated. In a rare, emotional television appearance, he broke down in tears during an interview with The Insider, pleading not for money or attention, but simply to hear his mother's voice again. "Why haven't we heard from her?" he sobbed, his usual composure shattered. The pain was palpable, the family's public unity unraveling in front of the cameras. Yet, amid the chaos, Marlon stayed true to his principle. He, along with Tito and Jackie, publicly distanced themselves from the conflict, choosing calm over confrontation. It was a move that spoke volumes. In a family where loyalty is often tested by fortune, fame, and pressure, Marlon made his choice not to pick sides, but to protect peace. And while the headlines faded, the emotional scars remained. This chapter didn't come with hit singles or award shows, but it revealed the cost of being in a family that belongs to the world, and what it means to fight for the pieces that are still yours. In a family defined by chart-topping hits, moonwalks, courtrooms, and flashbulbs, Marlon Jackson carved a path entirely his own, quieter, slower, but in many ways just as profound. He may never have had the global superstardom of Michael or the solo ambition of Jermaine, but Marlon's legacy isn't built on platinum plaques. It's built on peace, purpose, and persistence. From the gated estates of Enino to the playgrounds of Gary, from his loyal marriage to his emotional eulogy, Marlon has consistently chosen substance over spectacle. He turned away from the world stage, not because he failed, but because he realized something few entertainers ever do, that peace is the real prize. He wasn't the loudest Jackson, but he might have been the strongest. When scandals rocked the family, he stayed stayed grounded. When fame became toxic, he stepped back. And when the world lost Michael, Marlon didn't just grieve. He stood up, spoke truth, and reminded everyone that behind the icon was a brother with real feelings, real history, and real love. Today, Marlon's life continues mostly off-camera, but his impact ripples through community work, generational healing, and the quiet legacy he's built far from the noise. He's proof that you don't need to dominate headlines to leave a mark that matters. Because in the end, the brightest lights sometimes cast the darkest shadows, and it takes someone like Marlon to remind us that even in the shadow, there's a story worth telling.